SD stands for Secure Digital. And so recording media requires some knowledge of SD cards and file size. There are generally two types of SD cards. There is a micro and a standard. Our video cameras take the standard. Our drone and GoPro use a mini. You can purchase adapters for minis that allow them to be used in standard slots. So there are several classes of SD cards, and you can find the class size on the card in the upper right. There are 4 different speed classes: 10, 6, 4, and 2. 10 is the fastest of these classes, and it is recommended for HD video. In addition to those 4 classes, there's also 2 other classes that have been around for a few years now, and they are ultra high speed classes, and you'll find this marked as UH, and they are classes 1 and 3. Something to keep in mind about these classes is these classes talk about the write speed, and the write speed determines what kind of SD card you need. Now you'll notice that a lot of SD cards will have a number on there, and that is actually the read speed written on the card. They try to confuse you by using a different type of measurement than we use to figure out what kind of card we need. So there are 2 types of measurements. There is megabit and megabyte. And so there is 0.125 megabytes in 1 megabit. So you will find that most card manufacturers are writing their speeds in megabytes, but we care about megabits. I know that's confusing, but it is what it is. So we're going to talk about that write speed in just a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about the size capacities, which means how much media the card will hold. You've got SD-SC, which is standard capacity, and those cards range in size from 2 gigs to 32 gigs. Then you have SD-XC, and those cards range in size from 32 gigs to 2 terabytes. And that XC stands for extended capacity. You have to be careful though, because some devices do not support the SD-XC. So in general, I recommend students getting between a 16 and 32 gig card. I do not recommend a 1 terabyte card because, again, SD cards really aren't storage systems. They're basically a way to get media from the camera onto your hard drive or onto a computer. So let's go back and talk about that record speed or that write speed. You need to look at the different formats to figure out what your record speeds are, but in general, a 10 is going to work for our systems. But you need to understand why that 10 works. And if you do go and purchase your own camera, you're going to want to understand what kind of SD card you're going to need for that camera. So the number that we see on most SD cards is the reading speed, not the writing speed. And you can find the speeds are related to the classes. So a class 10 records at 10 megabytes per second. A class 6 records at 6 megabytes per second. A class 4 records at 4 megabytes per second. And the UHS speed of 3 records at 30 megabytes per second. Another thing to keep in mind is on the side of the card you'll find a locked symbol or a word beside a tab. And this tab allows you to keep the information on the card from being written over. So if you ever can't get an SD card to format, check to make sure that this tab isn't in the locked position. If you want to find write speeds for your device, you can find it in the owner's manual. We have 3 JVCs. And under the resources in this section, I have provided you with the right speeds for these devices.